Hey there, you guys. My name is Hunter Dalalu, and today we're going to be going over some of the items that were listed in the budget for the wrestling team. First thing that we're going to be talking about is the singlet. Singlet is traditionally what is worn during a wrestling match. The different single styles depend on what kind, whether it's Greco-Roman or traditional or anything like that. It all depends on how the singlets are cut. But usually the singlets are what is actually worn during the match between two opponents. You don't usually see people wearing singlets during practice or anything like that. Just usually during the actual events between two teams or two people is when you see singlets. So it's important to have singlets to kind of show off your school, your organization, whatever it be. That's why it would be important to have the singlet itself. Next up, we have wrestling shoes. Wrestling shoes are very important for the team because wrestling shoes versus athletic shoes. A lot of officials like you can't even wrestle without wrestling shoes. You need wrestling shoes because they're lighter. Um, they have more grip on the bottom. They're safer for both the person wearing it and the opponent. They have a lot more grip. Basically, wrestling shoes are a necessity when it comes to getting the leverage you need during a match or trying to escape, sprawl out. It's just wrestling shoes are important to wear and they are much more convenient than wearing athletic shoes. So next we have headgear. Headgear is very important because number one, it protects the ears and it can also reduce some of the blow depending on how someone's throwing. If they do land on their head kind of awkwardly. Cauliflower ear though is the main thing it protects. Cauliflower ear is trauma to the ear that basically allows fluid to go into the ear. Um, After a buildup of this fluid, it can actually solidify, and people's ears literally look like they're swollen all the time. Hence the name, cauliflower ear. Um, it's a really preventable thing with headgear, and a lot of college students and even young adults probably don't want to be walking around for the rest of their life with cauliflower ear just because of the sport that they played in college. So up next we have a gear bag. Gear bag is convenient for a team just because it kind of unifies the whole team. They all have something to put all their equipment in during travel, to practice, from practice. Anything that they need to actually participate in wrestling can be put in the gear bag. And it's a necessity to be able to have all your equipment and not have to carry it piece by piece because that's how things get lost. Next, which is very important, is the actual wrestling mat itself. The wrestling mat is extremely important because the wrestling mat is number one, is thick, it's padded. You don't want to have two wrestlers wrestling around on the ground. The wrestling mat also has markings on it, so during practice and events, you could actually see the circle that you're supposed to stay in, and the different, basically the boundaries for the match. So it could get during practice, it gets the wrestlers used to it, and during the match, it helps the official keep, uh, basically make it so that the match is going smoothly and according to the rules. So next we have a first aid kit. First aid kits are very important because during wrestling, it is a contact sport. Things may happen. Um, Bleeding may occur, swelling may occur, or any other kind of injury, and a first aid kit is needed to help take care of these injuries as they come up. Because without a first aid kit, you kind of have to send them to emergency care or just regular care. Versus if you have a first aid kit, you could kind of nip it in the bud there and then just treat it on your own. Next up, we have mouth guards. Mouth guards are very important because uh, during a match, a wrestler could be slammed on their head, and basically this protects their teeth from slamming into each other and chipping teeth, breaking teeth. It also prevents them from biting their tongue, and it's just a good shock absorber, so it prevents damage from actually occurring within the mouth. So it's definitely a necessity for all the wrestlers to actually own a mouthpiece and wear it. Another very important piece of equipment is a weight scale. Weight scales are important just for the simple fact that you want to make sure that during wrestling during a match, you have two people that are of the same weight class wrestling against each other. You don't want to have somebody a couple classes ahead wrestling someone a couple classes lighter, because the weight difference, it will make a huge difference in wrestling. Also, weight scales are important before matches and during practices, because someone could see how much weight they could afford to lose or gain before actually going to their match. Disinfectant spray is the next thing that's very important, because disinfectant spray helps uh, prevent the spread of certain things like MRSA or staph. Staph is very common because the constant bacteria that builds up during wrestling from the sweat, bodily fluids being exchanged, and all the equipment that has all this bacteria on it. You want to make sure you have disinfectant spray to kill all of this bad bacteria, bad germs. This will help protect the athlete and anyone that they come in contact with from potential diseases or anything like that. So disinfectant spray is definitely an important part of, I guess, starting a wrestling team, because you want to make sure that your players or you know your players stay healthy enough to actually participate and wrestle. So next we have warm ups, track suits, whatever you want to call it. Warm ups is important because it gives the team I guess a brand. If they're traveling, you want to make sure the team all matches, they all look good, that they're going in unison, and it shows them that they're all on the same team. And also, they are warm ups, so you could warm up in them, get your body temperature up, uh, begin exercise, get your body just prepared for a match, for practice, for whatever it is that the wrestler is about to participate in. So one of the easy things that you could overlook is just water bottles. Water bottles are important because during a match and during practice, you want to make sure that the athletes stay hydrated. Hydration is important because your body needs to stay hydrated to perform all the functions that it needs to, especially during wrestling. Wrestling is a uh, very, I guess, costly sport when it comes to the body. You sweat a lot, you're expending a lot of energy, so you want to make sure that you're staying hydrated, so you don't pass out or become too dehydrated and you're unable to continue wrestling. Water bottles are also important because you don't want to have everyone crowding around a water fountain. Water bottles are also good if a particular player is sick, you can give them their own particular water bottle. Just hydration is key in general, and also it helps give the players each their own water bottle, so it makes it a lot more organized. And finally, one of the most important things is a scoreboard. This is important during a match because you want to be able to show how much time is left and what the score is during their match. Could be because for every single takedown or particular move, points will be rewarded, and you want to make sure that the team, a coach, whoever it is, can see how their wrestler is doing, and also shows how much time is left. So a scoreboard is definitely one of the essential things that you need in starting a wrestling team, because if you plan on hosting a match or even during practice, you want to know how much time, how many points, so you could better your game and work on time management. But that is all that I have for today when discussing the budget, and thank you very much.